You know, I don't often like to claim that people are overtly evil. I usually give people the benefit of the doubt, and I've given praise to some Democrats I think have crazy plans and policies. I've talked about how amazing it is that AOC, is going to work with Ted Cruz on revolving door politics stuff, lobbying after Congress, and Alyssa Milano. There are people I disagree with, but I'm willing to respect if they engage in legitimate conversations and actually they come off as though they really want to do something right. Beto O'Rourke is the opposite of this. Beto O'Rourke stands for, well, I don't know what he stands for. When he announced his campaign, he didn't have anything on his website. It was blank. And it seems like he's a product of the media. So first, let me just tell you, we'll do this story, and then I want to talk about the evil that is Beto O'Rourke, and I really do mean it. I really do. Democratic Senator warns O'Rourke AR-15 pledge could haunt party for years. 4 years. There are a lot of blue states that are pro-Second Amendment. Bernie Sanders comes from one. They're up in the Northeast where they're not urban environments. They're rural environments, but they lean blue and they understand why they need to protect their homes. Most Americans live in a home, or they either own a firearm or they live in a home with one. That's at least according to one study I pulled up. It could be wrong. It is an extreme minority of people that own multiple weapons and own the majority of weapons, but a lot of people in this country have had contact, in some capacity. Beto O'Rourke is a product of the media. He doesn't stand for anything. He is a plastic, evil opportunist, and I say evil, and I really do mean it. Now, I come from a philosophical perspective where I don't believe good and evil are necessarily like a tangible, or I should say static, right? A lot of people have a different perspective of what is good or evil. It doesn't change it for the most part, in my opinion, but I think it's a nuanced conversation. Some people will tell you there is no good or evil, only perspective. Morality is subjective to an extent. There are many things that we would consider to be sort of malleable in terms of morality. Should this drug be legal or not, and why? And we argue about it. That just shows you right there that not everything is set in stone. But there are some things that are rather universal, or at least almost entirely universal, like don't lie to people, don't kill people, things like that. So it's not just that. So here's what I mean by evil. Beto O'Rourke only cares about himself. He is only doing this for himself, and he will destroy the Democratic Party if it means he gets his way. He is a failed candidate. He is failing now. And his only last-ditch effort is to latch onto the fear and anger of mass tragedy to try and get some gains in the polls. Talk about vile, disgusting, and evil. Is he going to solve problems? No. Is he going to make them worse? Oh, you betcha. Does he know? I very well believe, I believe he knows exactly what he's doing. Look. Recently, Beto O'Rourke called on credit card companies to suspend the legal transactions for firearms, something that is constitutionally protected. You want to argue about changing the law? We can argue. That's the way the process is supposed to work. But when Beto O'Rourke can't get anything done, what does he do? He calls on credit card companies to just circumvent constitutional rights because they're a duopoly. Yeah, Visa and MasterCard basically control everything. Granted, I know there's Amex and there's Discover, but come on, let's be real. Visa and MasterCard have a stranglehold on the financial markets. So what does Beto say? He doesn't care about the law. He doesn't care about democracy. He cares about saying whatever he needs to say to gain in the polls. He is a vile, disgusting human being. Look at what Visa posts, okay? So Beto just recently called on them, not directly, but credit card companies. Now we have a statement from, it looks legit to me, us.visa.com. Visa urges Congress and administration to enact bipartisan solutions to prevent gun violence. Now it seems a bit, I don't know, like not really calling for anything, okay? But they're definitely addressing, well, I should say it seems like they're addressing Beto's call for tech control. Beto O'Rourke doesn't stand for anything. Let's read a little bit of the story, and I'll continue to rag on the guy. The Hill report, Senator Christopher Coons on Friday warned that Beto O'Rourke's pledge the government will confiscate semi-automatic AR-15 rifles will become a rallying cry for gun rights groups for years to come and haunt the Democratic Party far into the future. Quote, I frankly think that clip will be played for years at Second Amendment rallies with organizations that try to scare people by saying that Democrats are coming for your guns. They are. Beto just proved it. Beto doesn't care if the Democrats win or not. He doesn't care if people in blue states like Maine, which has some of the most lax firearm laws in the country, he doesn't care if those Democrat voters have their say. All he wants to do is pander for the activist vote so he can gain in the polls. He doesn't care about what Americans want. He doesn't care about what Americans need. He just wants control because he is a hollow nothing of a candidate. He was running for the Senate in Texas. He lost. The only reason he was even close to winning, at least in my opinion, is because the media and Hollywood types were propping him up and saying all these great things about him because they wanted Ted Cruz to lose. Well, Ted Cruz won. Beto O'Rourke lost. Beto then decides to use what little media power he had gained to run for the presidency. And he's got nothing. He has nothing to campaign on. He is a nobody. He is hollow. He is devoid of anything worth talking about. So what does he do? He embraces the most overt and destructive things he can say. You know what? Forget the whole debate. Forget the whole conversation, he says, as he calls on massive tech companies, financial companies, to circumvent the law because he couldn't get changes made. He goes on the debate stage, and what does he do? Every chance he gets, he talks about mass tragedies to use the pain and suffering of others for personal gain. Talk about slime. Let's read on. Coons, an ally of former Vice President Joe Biden in the Democratic race, this is what he told Poppy Harlow in an interview. O'Rourke, a former member of Congress from Texas, received loud applause at the Democratic debate in Houston on Thursday when he declared, "Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15, your AK-47. We're not going to allow it to be used against fellow Americans anymore." When you really understand what the end game of the left is, it's literally mandatory buybacks, or as I call it, confiscation. This is a step-by-step process for them, said Ron Johnson. He told The Hill when asked about the debate over expanded background checks for firearm sales. Coons, who is working with Republicans to pass more modest gun control measures, scrambled on Friday to contain the fallout from O'Rourke's statement. "I don't think having our presidential candidates like Congressman O'Rourke did say that they're going to try to take people's guns against their will is a wise policy or political move." So I've been talking to some people I know who are Democrats, and they start parroting this same rhetoric from people like Beto O'Rourke. "We cannot allow weapons of war on our streets." We don't. They're actually illegal. AR does not mean assault rifle, it means Armalite rifle. And it's, for the most part, a brand, my understanding is. I'm not a gun person. I'm probably going to get a lot wrong. Hear me out. But at least I try to understand. Assault rifles are selective fire. That's what's used in the theater of war. In the United States, we have just semi-automatic rifles, which means you load it, you pull the trigger, a bullet comes out, and then another bullet goes in the chamber, and you can pull the trigger again. What they've done is they've conflated semi with fully. They've not explained to people why fully automatic is bad anyway. They're not actually talking to people about what their plans are. And make no mistake, Beto O'Rourke is not talking about just taking AR-15s. The bill proposed, the assault weapons ban, would ban handguns. Most of them, almost all of them. I think the only legal thing you'd have is like lever action rifles, bolt action, single load, and revolvers. So they want to get rid of almost all guns. That's what they're working on. And Beto, let's be real, he doesn't care about this. He's from Texas. Maybe. He doesn't care about any of this. He knows Texans are gun-loving people. He doesn't care about you. He doesn't care about the debate. He doesn't care about the Democratic Party. He just wants to personally gain, and that is evil. That is slime. Look, a lot of these crazy left-wing activists aren't doing it necessarily for personal gain. They'll lie, cheat, and steal because they think they're doing something good. The path to hell is paved with good intentions. Beto O'Rourke, on the other hand, is burning down the Democratic Party with extremist rhetoric that means nothing because he wants something for himself. That's what he wants. It's as evil as I've seen. They say, Toomey on Friday praised Coons for calling out O'Rourke. "I agree with Chris Coons. This is an awful and extreme idea," Toomey tweeted in response to O'Rourke's statement. "Thankfully, there's not enough support in Congress to do it. But this rhetoric undermines and hurts bipartisan efforts to actually make progress on common sense gun safety efforts like expanding background checks." Congratulations, Beto. You've shown this country you have no idea what you're talking about, that you will capitalize tragedy for personal gain, and that you're going to completely just subvert bipartisan efforts and the actual debate. So you can at least have something to say. Why? Because you're nothing. You're a sheep costume wearing terrible singer. Okay, that's what I see when I see Beto. He's nothing. He is a hollow blank nothing. He launched his campaign with nothing on his website because he has nothing to offer. And he's desperately searching for why he matters. As soon as the Senate race was over in Texas, what happened? The media walked away from the guy. They never cared about him. He never offered anything in the first place. The media wanted to prop him up so he'd beat Ted Cruz. And so do these Hollywood types who abandon him the moment the race is over. And now who do they get behind? They're going to get behind Warren, Kamala Harris, maybe Biden. Beto O'Rourke is just wasted space. Drop out. He shouldn't be there. He shouldn't be there. I'm going to leave it there. Stick around. Next segment will be at 4 p.m. on the main channel, on my main channel, youtube.com/Timcast. It is a different channel, and I will see you all there.